Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Metal Gear Solid 5 S-Rank video walkthrough. This is episode 12, Hellbound, and this first clip here, guys, is a fail. This is the difference between being passive and being assertive, and the difference in what it will make results-wise. There are times in this game where you have to slow it down, and there are times in this game where you have to be quick. And if you're not, it just won't work. So that's something that you need to definitely get into your head. So right now, I lay down, even though I've just proven I can crouch walk away from this guy and he won't hear me at that speed, which means I can cover this distance much quicker than I'm doing now and avoid what's about to happen. I'm about to get pincered and spotted, and this is the only time I get spotted in the mission, and if I'd not, I would have got the no retry bonus on this 23-minute fucking video, which is a hell of a big grueling gauntlet of encounters, yet I get screwed on this very first one like an idiot. So I should literally be nowhere near this area because I should be so much, further down this area, and I'm not because I took it too slow. So I lay on my belly knowing that I'm probably doomed here because everybody seems to know where I am. Every time I move they seem to be aware. This guy is now going to come towards me because he knows something's up, and I cannot cover a distance or put anything between me quick enough to tell him not to do this, and he's on his way and I'm fucked. And that is literally what happens if you are too tentative. You have just seen the birth of a mistake right there. But not to worry, guys, I don't really care about the restart bonus. I think if the game didn't have this fetish with making you flying with the helicopter, which takes really long to do every single time you do it, then I would care more, because I would have no excuse not to. But I do believe that that helicopter stuff at the beginning and at the end is probably masking loading, because this game never really loads, and it runs at 60 frames per second, it looks goddamn beautiful, and it's a really big sandbox full of detail, so it's hard to be too strict on it, even though it's one of the things I hate the most about this game. But just then, I showed you a much more aggressive path. Now I'm on my belly, now these guys are at a different position, and now I can get past them easily. And it just goes to show the difference between being a little bit more forceful with your approach. Of course, you don't have to do it during the day. During the day is dangerous because it's a completely different mindset of playing. It's different in how you approach it, it's different in how the enemies are placed, it's different for a lot of reasons. That being said, there are times I do believe in this game where it's easier to infiltrate something during the day than it is at night. Thank you, wanker motorcyclists. And I would definitely recommend that you experiment in seeing which ones you prefer, because there are missions that I do prefer during the day, and when I began recording this, one of my stipulations to make it a bit more fun for myself was that I wasn't going to modify the time unless I had something really specific in mind. So if it's daytime, I commit to it being daytime. If I'm having trouble and it's daytime, I commit to having trouble and still being in daytime, and then vice versa. And I've had a lot of fun with it, guys. It also enables you to wear some different camouflages if you want to experiment with them. I've been experimenting with the stealth suit, the sneaking suit, which is fantastic for masking footsteps, but it's terrible camouflage. So that is one of those outfits where I would always make it nighttime if I was going to use it, just because it's kind of black and then it's kind of darker if you're in shadows and what have you. But for the most, that is an outfit where you know a good path, but the thing that stops you from being able to do it is the speed and the sound of your feet. If you know a path where you can not be spotted and you've got some really cunning, ways of getting around enemies and circumventing scenarios, but all it takes is, swiftness, that's the suit to wear, because you can pretty much run in that suit and people don't hear you. It's really powerful. I don't know the complete extent of it, because the walkthrough's terrible for that. It doesn't tell you anything too detailed about the gear, but the description itself says that it makes your footsteps quieter, and I have been on the mission Code Talker, stood up, walking without tilting the analog next to guards inside that house, and none of them have heard me. So it's incredibly powerful, and I'm going to try and experiment as best as I can to really understand its limitations and just how much it can do, because I get the feeling you can sprint, and if you can sprint, I'm going to get some sick ass S ranks that are hopefully going to be really easy to emulate and really fun too. So that should be something cool to look forward to, because there's one of the things that sucks about this project is there's an achievement for S-ranking all the missions, which is what this guide is going to help people towards if I cover all of them. It's mainly to help you beat the game, but of course there is this one for doing them all. However, I'm doing them all on a separate account because I wanted to go from a new game and have my mother base built up in a different way, so that I didn't have, you know, all the immediate access to things that you wouldn't have access to. And it makes me wish I was doing it on the other one, because that's the one where I've committed, that's my file, that's my project, and unfortunately I've got it on this throwaway account. But be careful over here, folks. There's a guy directly adjacent from us, who's over there, who sees you all the time. He's really, really good at this, and you'll notice I think he even starts to move towards us because he's that aware. But it doesn't matter, because it's going to give us the time to mantle down, climb over the fence, and then get back on the horse. So as soon as he moves, get out of dodge. And now we're just going to be traversing to the other area of this level, which is quite far away, and I always resented this mission for it, but it gives me an opportunity to talk about some other things, and I'm going to do that. So the first thing that I thought would be quite interesting for people to know that might not be complete 100% knowledge yet, or you might not be aware, is what attacks do what when it comes to stunning / putting enemies to sleep and incapacitating them. So in the guide there is a list of from shortest duration to longest depending on what you do. So the shortest one is a CQC throw on the ground. That is the move that will make them wake up the quickest. It still puts them down for a considerable amount of time and lets you do a lot of good things, but that one is the shortest stun. So each one I mention after this is going to be slightly longer. So then it's CQC throw headfirst into a wall. Then it's a tranquilizer round. Then it's a CQC choke. And then the longest duration is the full 5-hit CQC combo. So if you're contemplating on the best ways to put somebody down and you're not worrying about the no trace bonus, that is your hierarchy of stun duration. The tranquilizer dart is the mid tier, the full 5-hit CQC combo is the best way to do it. And then the CQC throw is better if you can throw them into something, which is pretty interesting stuff. Also I want to talk about the stealth, because the stealth aspect of this game does exist, but it's not as transparent as it was in Metal Gear Solid 3. And I wish it was, actually. I wish you could get something that enabled you to see your camouflage index. And you might be able to, guys. There might be something in the mother base that I haven't found yet. But as it stands, I don't really have any idea of the full extent of my, you know, how hidden I am. And I would really like to know that. But there are a few calculations in the walkthrough that help you understand exactly what is adding to that value and what is taking away from it. So I'm going to go over those now. Right then, folks. The camouflage index. I do apologise if I sound a bit different on the mic. I have this big book in my lap next to my desk, next to my microphone, and my head's not facing it, you know, various things. Well, you'll get the gist. So the variations on the camouflage index depend on your stance and your movement speed and environmental factors. So when you're prone and idle, you are plus 60 on camouflage. When you're crawling, you're plus 30. When you're crouching idle, you're plus 20. Crouch walking, you're plus 10. Upright idle, you're plus 0. Then when you're walking, you're minus 10. When you're running, you're minus 30. And when you're dashing / sprinting, you're minus 60. So those are pretty big factors to bear in mind. Then at the environmental factors which help, in shadow, you're plus 10. Whenever you're in shadow or in shadow of something, it will always add a plus 10 to whatever your current modifier is. So if you're laid down in shadow, there you are at plus 70, not moving. Like, that is a really, really good factor to bear in mind. At nighttime, you get another 10, so that would be even higher if it was nighttime. Pressed against a wall or cover is plus 10. Wearing a uniform that matches the surface's design. So wearing correct camouflage pluses 10 to your current position. Hiding inside a cardboard box on a surface that matches its design pluses 10 as well. Right, half of the body concealed in grass. That's plus 20. So if you have half your body concealed in grass, you get an additional 20 points. If your entire body's covered in grass, you get plus 30 points. So imagine being completely covered by grass, in shadow, at night time, idly prone. Pretty much God tier. And then it says, situated in the direct glare of a searchlight, you are minus 60. Illuminated by an enemy flare, you're minus 40. Illuminated by an ambient source, like a lamp, is minus 20. And a visible muzzle flash when shooting a weapon. without a suppressor or relevant modifications is -60. So if you shoot a weapon without a suppressor on it, you are effectively sprinting. So that's something to bear in mind. Additionally here, guys, I'm going to be sneaking into this base and getting Emmerich out during the day, which is not the most recommended way to do it, but I had a lot of fun doing it, even though these missions all got corrupted and I had to re-record all of them. But still, this is a really, really fun mission, and I do like it a lot. But the path that I'm going to show you here is pretty sound. I'm pleased with it. But I just want to go over another thing that I spotted when I was looking for the camouflage index just then. It is the way that enemies hear you, which I think is really useful information for people to have. And if you're wondering where this is in the reference and analysis part of the official walkthrough. It also goes through quite a lot of different systems. It's really, really nice. I'm pleased with various parts of this book. It's worth the money. So, detection range is on hearing. At 160 meters, the enemies can hear gunshots and explosions. Obviously, understanding the distance of 160 meters is probably not the easiest thing to do unless you're some kind of surveyor or like measurement person, but you can get a decent grasp of what that means. At 60 meters, barking of D-Dog or Fulton extraction can be heard. At 30 meters, D-Horse galloping and Big Boss sprinting. At 15 meters, a magazine clip or decoy hitting the ground or the wall, they'll hear. At 9 meters, they can hear you running without sprinting. And at 4.5 meters, they can hear you crouch walking at full speed. So, at 4.5 meters, distance from any enemy is the time where you have to transition from holding the analog fully to slightly brushing it to move, which, to some people, the information that I've just given you there probably just sounds like boring statistics. Why would I care? But to other people like me and a lot of the folks that enjoy my channel and like to play these games at, shall we say, a slightly more focused level, that type of stuff is gold, because it gives you a better understanding of the fundamentals. And it enables you to realise just what's possible and what's not possible, and to get away with some really sneaky stuff, which I think is fantastic. But one thing I must say against this walkthrough, I've not really looked too much at the mission stuff because I don't want it to cloud my judgment on what I'm doing with this walkthrough. But on the ones that I have looked at, for the ones I've already recorded, some of the strategies that they give you guys are not very good. Like, some of them seem perfectly fine, and others, you know, you can definitely get through that way, but they tell you to do stuff in such an awkward way, which I don't really understand. Like one of them, where you have to get a hostage, they tell you to follow the truck and then like take them out when they're out of the truck doing all this other stuff, when at that point in the game you've got the cargo Fulton, so you can just stop the truck with the horse and then Fulton them all away, and it takes 5 seconds, whereas the method they've told you takes 15 minutes. So I'm not too sure on some of those things, but all the other stuff, really, really interesting, really, really fun. Like the story recap and all the theories and, you know, what's happening with the timelines and stuff is really, really cool. It's got some nice information on the characters. It tells you a lot of the hidden snippets and things. The main reason I bought it was because I've got my Metal Gear Solid 2 official walkthrough in my cupboard behind me. I've got Metal Gear Solid 3 as well. And in those books, they told you all the secret codec moments where you could do something and get, you know, specific conversations, like using the directional microphone to hear Johnny behind the big shell area when you're sniping Emma and stuff, all those kind of crazy rare moments. So I was hoping that there would be a ton of those in this game, and it turns out that there's quite a few cutscenes, and it does tell you how to get them, but they're not specific enough to make you really understand. And I've currently been trying to get one with Quiet, where the book tells you have to spend 5 days out of doing missions without coming back to Mother Base and washing, and have your partnership with Quiet, your bond up to over 60%. And if you do this, you'll get a special shower scene. And I'm just curious as to what that could be, because I saw a scene with Quiet and and boss where it started raining and she started like chucking water at him, and it was this really kind of sweet scene between them two just having some fun, which I thought was really nice. And I was hoping that the shower scene was going to be something that gives you an idea of a little bit more what Quiet can do, because of course she drinks through her skin, and she feeds through photosynthesis, and like breathes through her skin and stuff, like all that kind of weird shit that it talks about. And I was curious if it'd show you more than that. But knowing my luck, it'll just be like some pervy camera angles or something, which is not a bad thing. It's just I would kind of like some storyline as much as I like ogling boobs. But time to sneak this guy out. So the game tells you that you can use his machine to sneak out quickly. And I've done that on my first run. I did that during night time. I snuck out and it was dead easy. I went across the bloody landing area, past all the vehicles, and I never got spotted once. However, I tried doing it during the day and I kept getting spotted in the vehicle. So I decided to carry him. And the path I've got here is pretty spot on. There's a sniper on the roof above us, and he can give you some really awkward moments, but for the most, you should be okay. Just be aware that when you're carrying this guy, it seems like the game goes easy on you. Or that's what I feel anyway, as I knock over this cone coming up and it makes a massive noise. Because there are moments where the guards seem to spot you really well, and there are other times when they just don't. So it's almost like you get a passive camouflage bonus for picking this dude up. But I could be completely wrong. However, the section coming up after this, where you have to run from Salanthropus, is one of those moments where it's a lot more intimidating to view it than it is to do it. Like, when you're first doing it and you're panicking and you're being chased and he's sending out those scout bots, it feels like it's the most tense thing in the world. But then when you know how it works, it's not really tense at all, because you just have to make sure that he doesn't have the red on his visor. Because if he has red, it means he knows where you are. If he has yellow, it means he's curious. If he has blue, it means he has no clue. And you need yellow or blue for the chopper to come and land. If you have anything other than that, you have to wait for him to not see you. And the computer in this game fucking cheats. Straight up cheats. There's no getting around it. You'll remember when we first took on the skulls, and I mentioned how they knew where I was, and it pissed me off, because where you move, they move too, to cut you off in that stupid, slow, sluggish walk they've got. Well, Salanthropus does the same. And I've done tons of sneaky things where there's no way in hell that machine could know where I am, and he just does. He knows where you are. And it's just one of those video game things. If he knows where you are, so deal with it. And a great example is, after the cutscene coming up, you can run through his legs, you can cut to the left, and the wall is high enough to completely obscure you from view. And then you can run to the left of that wall and hide behind a rock. And he physically cannot see you, but he still knows that you've done it. So, the amount of times he's come and tried to step on me, when he really shouldn't have any idea where I am, the dirty cheater, is quite high. But instead I'm going to show you a more aggressive sprinting pattern. So, cutscene skipped. Sprint straight through his legs. You can either go on the right hand side here or the left hand side. I recommend going on the left hand side, and my logic here is to put as many things behind me as I can. So, tree, stand behind the tree. Rock, stand behind the rock, you know, and always have something blocking you from him. And if you can do, I mean, you could even try dumping him on your horse, but for some reason I like to do this on foot. But you can do this on the horse should you choose to. And of course, the Metal Gear shoots at me just then, which, pretty bloody typical. So, you can run up the verge right there, past the trees, but I decided to go around this rock. And a lot of this is down to the AI of the boss. Ooh, frame rate. There are times when I've done this, and I've got to the chopper and it's immediately come down because he hasn't seen me, and there are other times when he's so close to me he could kiss me with his metal face. So, you're at the capricious nature of a rather flippant boss. And this is probably classed as a boss too, because the things that are classed as bosses in this game are insulting. They really are. Like, and that's coming from somebody who thought that Metal Gear Solid 4's bosses were utter shit. But at least they were bosses, you know what I mean? And once again I have to add a footnote to that. Fighting Ocelot, Liquid Ocelot and the Rex fight, two of the best fights in any Metal Gear Solid game. Absolutely amazing. Those fucking Beauty and the Beast moron women, the worst of any game. Like, rip-off Sniper Wolf, terrible. Like, random flying thing, terrible. Camouflage Lady, kind of liked it, but still kind of shitty. Like, Psycho Mantis-y thing, shooting the puppets-y thing, like, oh. That game is so disappointing for me. But it should be said, I have got a massive hunger to go back and play 4. Because I want to do a big boss run. But Aiden has my PS3. And I should really get that back off him. But the good news about this game as well is it made me really want to go back and play Ground Zeroes again. Because when I played Ground Zeroes, because the gameplay was such a shift to the Metal Gear that I wanted in a direction that I really didn't want, I didn't really like playing it. It was that thing of, I was so resilient to the change that I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't understand how I could enjoy it, so I kind of just didn't play it. And now that I've come to Phantom Pain, and this is essentially an extension of that game, because I've got used to this new style of Metal Gear, and it's not bugging me as much as it did, and I'm growing to really like it for its own thing, the prospect of going back to Phantom Pain, to Ground Zeroes is really exciting, because I'm not going to judge that game and look at it as, this is not Metal Gear, this is not what I want to be doing in Metal Gear. I'm going to be looking at it as, this is the new Metal Gear, this is this new path that it's taken that is so different, but is still so much worth to check out and see. So I'm going to get a lot more fun from that game now, which is really nice. Because there was a part of me that couldn't believe that I played, Ground Zeroes, did all the missions, and then just never went back. When I played the demo for Metal Gear Solid 2 for like 6 months straight, or something ridiculous, which was only the tanker, and you couldn't even go to the holds. Yeah, that was a full game in essence, and I just couldn't stand it. But here is the Philanthropus encounter. He's going to fire some of these drones at you. The reason I'm not going balls to the walls and shooting them here is because I was trying to get a high accuracy rating. But in the end, I don't even get that higher rating, so don't bother. And then you have to shoot him here. If you don't shoot him, he will one-hit kill you. This is the single section of this level that stops the no trace bonus from being doable, because you have to fire, and the moment you press the right trigger, you void the best bonus. I personally think that that's bad design, but that's just me. But there he goes. That is by far one of the most intensive and involved missions we've done. That is as close to a main mission, focal story mission as it's going to get, and it's easily one of the more demanding. But there's your S rank, guys. Pretty simple stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.